Hello, this is Gary, and I have here a 1916 Ingersoll midget wristwatch. And if you saw my previous video, I did an overview video of this watch, which I call the Joseph watch, where I talked about this 1916 wristwatch along with another one that I have by Ingersoll, which is a Ingersoll midget with a black dial right here. And in the video I talked about what I'm going to do to be working on cleaning and restoring these two watches. As it turns out, this one with the black dial actually does run. It does need to be cleaned, but today what I'm going to be doing is working on the white one. The white one doesn't work, and so I'm going to take it apart fully, give it a clean, and see if I can get it to work. So what I've done so far is I've removed the back, and by the way, in case you haven't seen the overview video, this watch is so cool because it has a picture of what I take to be the former owner. And if I take the picture out here, you can see that there is a name on the back which says Joseph. And then very interestingly, it has the warranty card on the back here, which has a date written by the dealer, August 11th, 1917, which is apparently when the watch was sold. What I've done is I've taken the movement out of the watch case, and you do that by just popping off the back and then also popping off the front with the dial glass cover. So let me put that aside here, and then the movement just kind of swivels out of the winding stem and pops out of the front. And what you're left with is the movement with the dial attached. Now this dial is a paper dial, and it's on a brass plate. And I've prepared it to be removed. Done a couple things. One, I've taken the hands off, as you can see, the minute and the hour hand, and also the second hand. And normally, in a newer watch, the dial would be screwed onto the movement, but in these more inexpensive mass-produced watches, they didn't use screws, they used tabs. And there are 3 tabs, and I've already kind of pried them so that they'll come out, but there's one right there, right by the barrel, and there's another one here by the keyless works, right there, and then a third one right there. Usually, or before, they were bent down, and I kind of straightened them up. And now that they're straightened, I can go over here to where the keyless works side is. I can put my plastic tool in here and just lift up gently. Again, this isn't not lifting up the paper. I'm lifting up the brass plate. There we go. The brass plate that the paper dial is glued to. So I'll show you what that looks like on the back. And it looks like it appears to be brass. You can see the 3 tabs. You can also see the paper just through the little hole right there. And you can also see that the seconds dial it's a sunk dial. You can see how that's pressed into the plate there. Overall, this dial face is in pretty good shape. I really like that it has the red 12. It's a tiny bit faded, but not too bad. Overall, really good condition. Has a little bit of a scratch right there, and where it says made in USA, it looks like it's been rubbed off a little bit down at the very bottom, but considering its age, that's not too big of a deal. Really interesting here on the dial face is that immediately what I see is that the click and the I forgot what that's called right now, this gear right here is on the dial side rather than on the movement side. Let me just flip that over here, and you can see big plate here, and here's the barrel bridge and the balance, which I'm hoping that I can see if I can clean and repair and maybe even try to get this watch running. It hasn't been running since I've owned it, which has been a few years. Just finally getting around to working on this. So that's the overview, and the next step is I'm going to be taking this all apart. So hope you join me for the rest of the video. There are 4 screws here, so I'll just take those out. This is a pretty big plate here. Just 4 screws holding down the main plate. Whoa. Yeah, better hold, just kind of brace it a little bit. Whoops. Now, once I lift up this plate, it's going to reveal the train of wheels. So it's kind of the point of no return, hoping that I can get this back on again, because that's quite a few points to line up there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And just lift up carefully. Okay, there we go. And set it to the side a little bit so I can grab it here. And there are the train of wheels. And just going to take out this brass pillar. That one is free and clear. The other 3 are just screwed in. I can just leave them on the plate. But here's the first wheel. Got a little bit of play there, as you would expect, but I'll just remove that. And so I kind of do this, just kind of make a mental note of what it looks like. Looks like there's the cog is on the underside there. And here's the second one. Yeah. Yep, there's the cog on the bottom. And you see the holes in the plate there. They are definitely not jeweled. They are just a drilled plate. So fortunately, they look pretty round there. Now this big minute wheel, that's like, looks like it's not coming up. I'm going to have to look at that here after this just to see what's going on with that. Okay, I'm going to turn this over and get there we are. There's the pallet fork and the escapement wheel. That's a very large pallet fork. Yeah, interesting with that kind of C, kind of half moon kind of a configuration there. The escapement wheel looks about normal. Okay, so now that I have this movement apart, I'm going to give this just a quick clean. And what I'll do is put some alcohol in my cup. Transfer these parts in one by one and give them a quick clean. I usually like to start with the more delicate ones first while the alcohol is really clean, and then move to the dirtier ones after that. Just set them in there. It's the ratchet wheel cover. This is the barrel. Yeah, the barrel cover. You can see it's a little bit dirty. Let me start with that. Yeah, let's give it a clean. Really, we're just wanting to get the old oil off and the old dirt off. Whoa, okay, that bottom, the back is dirty there. Okay, I'm gonna get these little wheels cleaned up. Just very, very lightly.
I'm just putting my my pointer stick here, just right, I'm not even touching it. I'm just holding, kind of putting it right through the cut out area here so that it just doesn't go too far away, but I'm not holding it with it. Okay, now I can put it, should be good. A few more pieces in here. This is the barrel bridge. Main bridge. And here, what I really want to do is just make sure that the pivot holes are clean. That's really the most important part. Just going to peg these holes with a little toothpick. Just to get the dirt out of there. And the barrel bridge, this really only has one large hole in it, so I'm just give it a clean to get the dirt and oil off. Next is that there's a lot to clean here, and I've decided I'm going to not take this keyless works apart anymore. I will just clean it in place. It's quite dirty. And then also these screws as well. Just put them right in. Yeah, good. here are a couple things that make these dollar watches unique. And that is they have a few captured parts on them. By that, I mean, this is the click here, and it's not removable, really, because it is, it's pressed into the plate here. That's the back side of it right there. And I guess I could have, unpressed it, but that would be a whole lot more unnecessary work. Also, this gear is captured as well, meaning it is also pressed into place here with what would ordinarily be the cannon pinion here, but this is the, what would you call it, the main stem of the gear here, and it's captured in the plate. So I just cleaned around it, and that should be sufficient. And I left the keyless works, most of the keyless works in place. And as we get into the watch a little bit more, I'll show you how that works. Just some interesting differences in the where the ratchet is on the dial side of the plate. This is where the ratchet wheel is going to go, and then the click. In the newer watches, that's on the gear side of the plate. Here, it's over here. So what I'm going to do now is put this on a movement holder. And, oh, yeah, you may have noticed this coin here. I thought since we're working on early 20th century watch, to include this early 20th century Indian head penny from 1906. Pretty cool. Very dark patina. 1 cent with the looks like the laurel wreath on the back. So anyway, I thought you might want to take a look at that as well. All right, so I'm going to put this into the movement holder. Great, and the first step would be to start putting our wheels on, and here are all the parts. Let me give you a better view of that. All the parts here all cleaned up. Just to kind of point out a few things. Here's the barrel with the spring in it. I left the spring in it. I'm just going to oil that up, and we'll just see if that's okay. If it's a set spring or if it's not providing enough power, I'll address that later. Here are the 9 screws that we'll be using. This is a spring. Here's the barrel bridge. Here's the main bridge with the 5 pivot points. We'll see how that goes as I put that back together. And of course the train of wheels and the balance here as well. And this is the pallet fork. So we'll be getting into that. I'm going to start with the wheels. All right, the first one will be the escapement wheel. And it's going to go right down here. Yep. And next one will be what I believe is the minute wheel. And get a seat in there that interacts with the hour wheel on the underside. Okay. And then the minute. just like that. This should be engaging with the escapement wheel, just like that. Okay. Hopefully these will set upright and stay in a position so that when I put the bridge on here, it will all go into place. One more thing to add, and that is the pallet fork. Very big pallet fork. Oop, it landed on my penny. So on these dollar watches, let me see if I can give you a right angle, good angle here. Instead of pallet stones, it just has pegs. So it's just a steel peg. Here are no pallet stones on the pallet fork. But it does seem to be a big size, like just a pretty large pallet fork, actually. And some of the pocket watches that I've done before, the pallet fork is even much tinier than this. That's going to go right into that pivot hole right there. And then this half moon shape will go right around the escapement gear. Yeah, that fell right into the hole there. Whoa, okay. That seems to be pretty upright. Okay, and then, so here's the bridge that will be going over this, and it needs one more support piece, and that is this, what looks like brass piece. It's going to go right here. And so when I put the bridge on, it's going to sit on this one right here, this one that's already on here, and then another one that's already on here. So those three pillars really will be what holds up the bridge. Like that. Okay, this is kind of the moment of truth to try to get this into place. So let's kind of try to spot this to see where it's going to go. Going to go just like that. Now just move it slightly. Wow. I actually already see some of these pivots in there. So I'm going to take a look at it under the magnifier. That one's in, that one's in, that one's in, that one's in, and that one's in. That is unbelievable. Wow. That really just fell right into place. That's almost miraculous. I've had these take a long time, and that was even only on 3 gears. This one's with the 5 points. That is pretty amazing. All right, well, I'm not going to talk too much about that without screwing it down. So I'm going to put a screw there. Just keeping it snug with my pointer here so that it doesn't come it doesn't jump out. There we go. Wow, that is really fantastic. Let's see if I can just test the wheels just to see if they're engaging all right. First of all, check the pallet. Yeah. And if I move the main hour wheel, yep, it's going all the way through. Can you see that? All the way through here to this escapement. Just want to make sure that all the gears are engaging. And it appears that they are. So now that the train of wheels are in, the next step is going to be going to go ahead and put the barrel and the mainspring in, and it goes right here. And what I'm going to do first is just going to put some oil, some barrel oil on the spring here. I'm going to use this 8200, and this is could be the original spring. I really have no way of knowing, but assume that it is old. So I'm going to maybe put this in, maybe just 4 different places here. Sometimes I just use the cap here because you really don't need a whole lot. And there often is enough in the cap to oil this. Spring looks like it's in fairly good condition. It is possible, because it's been in the barrel for so long, that it's set, which means it's not going to provide the same amount of tension that a new spring would provide. But the good thing is it's fairly accessible. So if I get the watch together and I feel like, oh, you know what, I think it's going to need some more, then I can always take it out and put another one in. So now I will use this tool here to press the barrel cover into place. It has a couple scratches here, either from when the watch was serviced or maybe just from installation. And this should give me a little bit of a snap, like that. And then I just like to check just to make sure that there's not a high lip on here after you press it in, and this looks very good. Yep. Okay. So I'm going to put it right in there, and then this is the barrel bridge, and you can see it has a round hole, so I know that the round post here on the barrel arbor will be up like that, and then the reverse side has the square shaft, and the ratchet wheel, which is on the dial side of the plate, will be going on here. So turn it this way and take the plate off. Now we can really see how this interacts with the other train of wheels here. Like that. That's pretty cool. So now we'll see if this goes on as easily as it did before. I'll line it up as perfectly as I can. Look at that. That is amazing. They all went right into place. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is extraordinary. I mean, it really is. For the fact that this was a stamped steel bridge and manufactured, you know, in the tens of millions, I'm just kind of blown away that that just went into place like that. Wow. Well, I'll take it. And I'll go ahead and screw that down. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and put that barrel bridge on like this. Okay. You know, and more expensive watches, these bridges have pegs in there, so when they sit into place, they don't move around. This has no pegs because it's just stamped steel, it looks like. So it has a lot of wiggle to it, which could make it a little bit tricky to get the screws in. We'll see. Okay, not too bad. Okay. Just snug this up. Great. Okay. So now, if I move the barrel bridge, I can see that wheel right there turning. And I still have everything lined up here. These 5 points right there. Good. So now I can flip the movement over and work on the ratchet. The ratchet and the click. Okay, so here's the barrel, the barrel arbor, the square side coming through the plate here. This is the dial side of the watch. This is where the hour hand and the minute hand will attach once the dial's on here. What would normally be the cannon pinion, but this is actually not removable, as I mentioned earlier. This is interesting. Here's the ratchet wheel. Sits in here, and you can see definitely some wear lines on the plate. So I'm going to put some grease down on that. I'm going to use the red 9104 grease. I'm just going to put a little bit here and here. Might be a little bit too much. All right. And then, this is the underside. This engages with this keyless works over here. There we go. And it sits down there like that. Now, this has a guide that goes on top of that to hold that in place. And it goes like this. Like that, and that screw goes right in there. Great, and here's the click. And so to keep the click in place, there's a spring here, very clever looking spring, and that's this one right here, and has a tab right there, and that tab goes in the hole, so that will hold it in place like that. And then the spring goes on this side of the of the click in order to keep it against the ratchet wheel there. Anytime you're working with springs, you just want to make sure that they don't fly away from you. Like that. Now that is under some tension there, so I'm going to hold this with my stick. While I get a screw to put in there. There we go. Now the screw's in, so it's not going to fly away. I'm just going to make sure that this is in the right place. Yeah. There we go. And I'll just tighten up the spring. Like that. I'm going to put the balance in here next, and here it is. I did clean it up, cleaned it in the alcohol, and I'm going to lubricate this before I put it in here. With this watch, this was the issue, the balance. It was a little bit wobbly, and what I noticed is on this watch, it does have an adjustment for the bottom pivot of the balance, and you can see it right here. That cap, it's not even well, it's not a jewel. There's no jewels in this watch, but that bottom pivot is actually like a small set screw that screws into the plate. That gives it some adjustment. So I could screw that in, and that would raise this up, which would then give make the balance a little bit more secure. So I'm going to try it just pretty much flush with the plate right now. But what I'm going to do is just get a little bit of 9010 oil, and just put a tiny bit on the top and bottom where the balance pivot is going to go. So right here. And it is often difficult to know if you're getting some in there. So without over oiling it, I'm just going to add just another little bit. Yep, there it is. I can see it. And then the other side of this is right on top of the hairspring. I'm just going to use my tweezers to take the balance wheel just off, or not off, but just take it away a little bit so I can get between the hairspring to oil that. Pivot right there. Yep, I can see it. That's it. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to need 2 screws. I'm going to feed the balance right in here, and that will interact with the pallet fork. Turn it upside down, or actually right side up. There we go. And I'm need 2 sets of tweezers here to, there we go, like that. Then a little just a little adjusting to get that to hopefully seat in there. Set this in my movement holder. Just a little fiddly. Just get that. Okay, looks like the bottom one is very close, if not in. Now I just need to get the top one in the right position. I need to just hold it with this. I'm gonna hold it kind of in the, the orientation is supposed to go in, and then I get the top to hold it in place, kind of like that. Okay, I'm going to, that feels like it might be close, so I'm going to go ahead and put a screw in this. And just almost snug it, not make it tight. Let me go ahead and put the other one in too. Yeah, just a little bit. Okay, you can see the balance is crooked. I'm gonna put a little light on here to see if I can. Okay, yep, bottom pivot is definitely out. So, because the bridge is loose, maybe I can. There we go. Adjust it into place this way. I can maybe even see what I'm doing here. So I got it in, but it's just a little bit loose. A little bit of play in it. So I am going to use that adjustment at the bottom. Before I do that, let me just make sure that this top part are snug down. Yeah. Okay. Now, so you can see, just as a test, if I kind of move it with my finger, it's pretty good. But I think if I tighten that set screw just ever so slightly, it's going to help this stay into place a little bit better. So, okay. It's coming out of this, so I'll let it. And I'm just going to turn this. This is that bottom pivot, just a tiny bit. It's about 1/8 of a turn. That's really good. That's just a little bit of me. Yeah, it's still going. It's just me turning it. There's absolutely no tension on the mainspring. The mainspring is not wound at all. Just that means with the cleaning and the setting, and also with the lubrication, that it's moving really well. Let me just check the lateral movement, just to see if there is any. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. But I think with the way that's moving, I'm going to leave it like that. I'm going to leave it like that. So now I'm going to do a little bit more lubrication, and then I will put it inside the watch so that I can put a wind on the mainspring, and we'll see if it will actually start and keep running. So first, what's interesting about this kind of particular design is I can see the escapement wheel and the pallet fork through the dial side, which is unusual. So it makes it really easy to be able to lubricate what would be the pallet stones, although this doesn't have pallet stones. As I showed you before, it has pallet pegs. But I'm going to put a little bit of the 941 oil, which is the pallet stone lubricant and escapement lubricant. A little bit there. A little bit there. I'm really happy with the way that is turning there. And I'm just moving the escapement a little bit to put just a tiny bit of oil on as many of the teeth as I can get to. Again, it's not much, it's just a little. You always have to be careful that you don't over oil. Good, I was able to get most of the teeth here. That's great. This oil is designed not to get thrown off. It kind of has some adherence qualities so that it will stay on the escapement wheel. Great. Now I will take my regular 90-10 oil, and I'm going to oil a couple pivot points on this side. There's one right there, and right here is the pallet fork and the escapement wheel. I can get that from this side, and actually a little bit here too, which is the seconds wheel. Do that one first. Okay. And I'll turn that over and I'll oil the other sides. I'm going to oil these 5 right there. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. All right. Okay, now to put a little bit of wind onto this, I'm going to take the movement, the dial side up. That is where the stem goes. So I'm just going to put that right into the watch like that. Turn that a little bit, and this should just kind of fall into place into the watch like that. Just make sure that balance is protected. Okay, so this is neat because we'll be able to see how when I wind this, how you can see the ratchet wheel turn, and you'll be able to see and hear the click. Okay, I can feel it. Putting tension on, that's pretty good right there. Like that, so we can see that spring is working very well. And then just by the way, these watches were made, then if I push this like that, I can set the hands, which of course the face and the hands are not on there, but you can see how when I press that, it makes this wheel here integrate with this, which then turns the hands. So I would push to set the time. this, of course, is just sitting in here, so. So now, let me see. It's not moving yet. But with that latch wound, if I can maybe move the pallet just a little bit. See if I can put a little air on here, if that will make it move. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take it out of the watch so I can spin that balance. Take the movement out of the case. Yeah, it looks like the balance is catching. Right there, it's catching. This way, it's moving. So if I wind it up like that, oh, and then it stops. Okay, it's moving. Still moving. Let me see if I can turn the watch over and see if it will still move. Because here I can see the escapement, so let me see if I can get it to go again. Yeah, the balance just is not quite balancing. But it does want to go. I have to work on that just a little bit more. So after just a little bit of an adjustment, I have it running now. Again, this is dial side down, and you can see the balance wheel, and then interestingly, there you can see the escapement wheel turning and the pallet fork going back and forth. It's very low amplitude, probably about 80 to 90 degrees. But the cool thing is, it is running. And I tried to, before, if I flipped it over, if it was the dial side up, it was it stopped working. But here it is running. I'm just letting it run so that the oil can distribute around, and hopefully those pivots will become even more smooth running than before. But it just shows you, just after cleaning it up a little bit and oiling it and putting it back together, adjusting it, that you can you can get these things running. So as a moment of truth, I'm going to try to turn this upside down and see if it will continue to run. I'll try to do it without touching any of the pivot points. Okay, it's still running. Let me get a better angle here. So that's really cool. There you can see it is running. It's cool. From this side, you can really see the balance going. You can see the pallet fork and the escapement wheel turning. So, wow, this is a result. So cool. So, just a few final things to do. I need to oil or grease the keyless works, put the dial and the hands back in, and recase it. But this is the coolest thing, is that this watch that has been not running for who knows how long, is now running. So from this angle, a couple things. You can see how the balance wheel is wobbly. I just not quite sure how to fix that, really. I guess I could try adjusting the bottom plate a little bit more. What's cool about this angle is you can see the impulse jewel. It's not a jewel, but it's an impulse peg, how that's interacting with the pallet fork there to move the escapement wheel, and you can see that those gears turning there. But you can see why this will not be a reliable watch, or one that will even really stay running the way the balance wheel is acting right now, because that should really be perfectly balanced, and the balance shaft is really moving left and right. But it is running under its own power, and so that is the interesting thing.
I found this magazine ad for Ingersoll jeweled models, which this one is actually not a jeweled watch, but it's kind of cool. You can kind of barely read this. Waterbury plain dial, Waterbury radio light dial, and here's one that looks similar to the Trench style here with the hunting configuration. So I'm just going to use this as our background today as we work on this. Going to put a little of the grease on right in here on the keyless works. A little bit there. And a little bit right there. And a little bit here in where the winding stem goes, maybe just a little bit more there. If you just notice that the movement stopped and then started again. I notice if I kind of move it around too much, it does tend to sometimes stop and start. Just kind of the nature of this old movement. Great. So let's orient this with the way the dial will go on. And here is where the sub 6 seconds dial is. Of course, that's the minute hand right there, or not the hand, but where the hour hand and minute hand will go. Just pretty cool just to kind of see this before I cover it up one more time. The escapement wheel and the pallet fork and the balance wheel. Kind of doing its thing there. So here are just the dial and also the case that we'll be putting back together. Oh, you know what? I almost forgot before I need to put a few more parts in here. I'm glad I remembered that. So what we need is this. And maybe I'll just put a little bit of grease on that before. Just right there. And maybe just a little bit right there too. Yeah. There we go. It sits straight down in there. And washer. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to carefully put the dial on. Use my fingers for this just so I don't scratch that. Yeah. Just get it to lay flat. And then I just have to push these tabs down. So there's one there. I'm just making sure that this is flush like that. I can then push this tab down. I think you really need to push them too much. Have to be careful here with the balance. And then one more right here by the barrel. just bend them slightly. Okay, look at that, back in shape. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to put this into the watch case, but before I do that, just want to take a minute and just clean this a little bit. I don't want to make it perfect, but I am going to just put a little bit of polish. This is the back, so you're not going to be really seeing that much when you're wearing it, but I just think it might be cool just to, without taking all the patina off, just kind of give it a little bit of a freshening up. Some of the finish is worn off here, so it's really just the metal that's underneath, and that actually might not really polish up. I'm going to take a little bit of a microfiber cloth and just kind of clean this up. Did brighten it up. And now just a little bit of pegwood just to clean out this area here. A little bit of, polish on that. Don't want that to get into the movement. So I am going to put a little bit on that. Not much, just a little bit. You can see, the part of restoration is you're not going to make this perfect, but I think you can just clean it up just so it has just a little bit of shine while still retaining the marks that make it a historical piece. It's kind of like if you're restoring a really old car, rather than repainting it, you just give it a nice car wash and wax, and that way you can still see some of the the micro cracks in the paint and the patina of it that still retains its history. All right, I think that's good. And you can start to see it. Get a little bit of the shine. Yeah. Okay, so this is the front, top case, and I'm going to take the movement. There's the keyless works right there, and just feed that right into the winding stem. Go right in there. turn that so that will go in, and then just a little bit fiddly, but this will fall into place. I have to turn this a little bit. The key here is just to take your time. Okay. I'm going to set this on this pad. So I can now put the case back screws in. It's interesting, these case screws are of different type screws. So this one is very short compared to this one. This is really long. So you can see where this one goes right here. Getting close now. Time for the hands. First is the hour hand. I'm just going to push that down. Just make sure that that's down a little bit. And now the minute hand. Try to line it up exactly. There we go. Okay. And now, the second hand. Balance stopped. Okay, so we can get that going again. Okay. Great. I can put just this bezel and glass will just snap right on there. But before I do that, let me just blow off any dust that might be here. And this is just a snap-on. Snap it without touching the movement. Here we go. And now, as a proper send-off to Joseph, I'm going to put his picture back here in the back of the watch case. Put a bit of dust on now to blow that out, away from the watch. So, here it goes. The watch is running. Joseph is back in his watch case, and the watch is all cleaned and ready for the next 120 years. So, here we go. There we go. I think that's it. And you can set it here. And there it is. Well, I think that's a real result. It's running, and it's back together, and it's just a brightened up, rejuvenated piece of American history. That's the Ingersoll Midget 1916 trench watch, wristwatch. Thanks for joining me today.